Hello and welcome to On the Right Track Career Stories, a video series and podcast about real people, their real careers, and real lives. I'm Jane Christoph, your host, and today we're interviewing Tanya Walker, lawyer and creator of Walker Law. Let's listen to her story. Good morning, Tanya. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate you coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's get started. Tell us about what you do for a living.
I'm a lawyer, I'm a commercial litigator, so I represent companies and people who are involved in financial disputes. I created Walker Law almost 11 years ago after I practiced at two Bay Street firms. So I decided to do things just a different way. And I was very fortunate because at the time, 99% of the clients followed me. So I just thought, okay, you're doing something right, just keep them happy. And so we continue to grow and grow. So I started off with an assistant part-time, and now we have almost 10 people that work in the firm.
Okay. And how did you get where you are today? Talk to us a little bit about how you chose law. Why did you choose it? How did you get here?
Well, I'm dating myself, but there was a show that I really enjoyed when I was younger called The Cosby Show. And there was one of the characters, her name was Claire Huxtable. And I really enjoyed just learning from her on television. She was a lawyer, a Black female lawyer. And I just thought to myself, when I was a very young age, I probably about 5 or 6 years old, I thought to myself, I want to be her. I didn't really understand what a lawyer meant. I didn't know any other lawyers at that time. And my parents just said to me, well, if you want to be her, you want to be a lawyer, you're good with the arguing, you're fine with that. But you need to have drive, discipline. You need to have very good grades. You need to be very well rounded. So I just focused on that at a very young age throughout my, I guess, academic career, focusing on being well rounded. Also, just having really, really strong grades and just being a good person because you are an advocate for others. If you don't believe in your case, no, it's not as likely anyone else will as well believe in your case as well.
Well, that's very interesting. Okay, so you had a role model, strong role model. You also worked hard in school. You were listening to your parents. What
Mm-hmm.
kinds of things did you get involved in at school along the way that may have helped boost the direction you were headed?
Well, there's things I got involved in at school and outside of school. So one thing outside of school, my parents strongly believed in education, but they didn't just rely on the school to teach me. They taught me themselves. And my father, especially, wanted me to think outside the box and not think because I'm a Black woman, I'm limited to doing certain things or learning certain things. So one thing my parents did was my babysitter spoke to me only in Italian, and they realized I had a strong proficiency in Italian. So they found an Italian immersion school for me to attend. They were Anglican at the time, and you only could attend if you're Catholic. So they actually spent 6 months converting. So
No kidding.
for us to become Catholic, so I would be able to attend the school. It was really, really strict school. My mother attended a private school in Jamaica, and she was looking for a curriculum that was very strict as compared to the school that she attended, and it was really strict. And a lot of homework. And so my father also taught me, I don't know how he did this, but he taught me how to ice skate when I was around 3 years old. And why I say I don't know how he managed to do that is because he doesn't know how to ice skate. And he came to Canada when he was much older. So he came from Jamaica where it doesn't snow there. So I don't know how he taught me how to ice skate, but he said that one of the reasons why he taught me how to ice skate is because he wanted me to grow up and think to myself, as a Black woman, there's certain things that I just can't do because of how I look. So he said, people look at us when we're in a skating rink, maybe because I wasn't skating with you and I was trying to teach you how to skate without skating with you, but also because we're just very different and you just have to get used to it. So I thought that was those are very good, valuable lessons. So I wasn't also involved in sports and the school band. My parents wanted me to learn how to read sheet music at a very young age. So I think I taught myself how to read sheet music. And then when I was in school, I think starting grade 3 or 4, I took up the trumpet. And then I played the trumpet until I was in grade 13 OEC at the time. I might have had a year break in between. But I think it's just, those are various things, and being members of various clubs. And I was also on different boards when I was even in high school. I initially applied to pursue a degree in social work, and I wasn't really sure if that was for me. So I actually
Mhm.
volunteered at a youth center with a social worker who graduated from McMaster University, which was a school that I wanted to attend. And then I realized it wasn't for me. So then I changed my application through after I actually had applied to McMaster for a business degree, which I was grateful for. So it's important to keep in mind participating in things in school, but you can also do things outside of school to help
Mhm.
yourself learn and grow.
Excellent tip. Okay, so you did a business degree.
Yes, the first
All along you knew you wanted to do law.
yes, I had to
Why
do a
did
business degree.
Yeah, why did you choose business?
I didn't really choose it. My father said,
Okay.
well, when I told my parents that I wanted to practice law around 12 years old, my father, 12 or 13, whenever you start grade nine, my father sat me down and said, we're not, we're of modest means. And therefore, you may change your mind about being a lawyer, 10, 15 years from now. You may not even get into law school because it's very difficult to get in. So we need you to pursue a degree where you will be able to find work, just in case you don't get in or you change your mind. So based on your strengths, I believe that because I was very social as well, social work. I loved computers. I had a computer, I think when I was 3 or 4 years old, these huge hard drives.
Yes.
And I like to program. So he said, computer science, social work, or business because you do have an interest in business and you're quite entrepreneurial. And
Mhm.
so that's why I initially applied for social work. And it was great that he sat me down and had this discussion with me prior to entering into grade nine, because then you can focus your courses on what you want
Exactly.
to do.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really into the science. My mother's a retired nurse. My sister's a nurse, but I wasn't. I knew at that point, okay, science is not for me. So I was able to select my courses based on my interests because 5 years at that time with OAC was 5 years, goes by very quickly. So that's
Mhm.
why I pursued a business degree.
Okay. And then after you went to law school, did you go right away
Yes,
after
I
your
went right
BCom?
away. Yes, I went right away because my family doctor at the time, my family doctor was actually my doctor even before I was born. He was my mother's doctor when she immigrated to Canada when she was 14. And he and I would have conversations, and I told him that I was interested in becoming a lawyer, but I need to save money to work. And I would work and take some time off in between. And he said, Tanya, don't do that. And I said, why? And he said, because you may not be paying attention, but the tuition's going up at a very like high rate. So you might spend 3 or 4 years working to save money, but then when you attend law school, the amount of tuition kind of sets aside how much money you saved, and you have a lot of energy now compared to 15, 20 years from now. So my recommendation is that you just go straight through.
Yep.
So I fast tracked at McMaster and
Mhm.
graduated a semester early, and then I worked from January to September to save money for the first year, but I didn't take a break. I technically graduated in June. I just chose to attend the June ceremony instead of January,
Mhm.
just because I didn't want my parents to drive to Hamilton and Ice.
Mhm.
That worked out for me.
Okay, so you're a very driven person. You're extremely focused from an early age. Like you were a little girl when you knew what you wanted to do. So many of my students have no clue what they want to do, and they find it very stressful. Um, could you give kids who have no clue any advice about how to keep their options open for the future?
Well, I would say kind of look at your strengths because whatever you pursue, you should really enjoy it and love it because you'll be better at it and you spend so many years of your life. So maybe to evaluate what are your strengths. Do you like working with people? Are you more on the extroverted side, introverted side? Do you enjoy reading? If you don't like reading at all, I don't know if blog would be for you.
Yes.
Um, you really have to look at your strengths and you can't just limit yourself to kind of what you learn at school. Like try to read outside of school, try to get experiences outside of school because when I was in high school, I don't remember there being a course on entrepreneurship. And I
Hmm.
think I took one course on entrepreneurship at McMaster, but that
Hmm.
isn't enough time to decide I want to be an entrepreneur. And I actually didn't even see myself as being one until my parents kept on saying, "You're bringing in your own files. You're bringing your own files. You should just open your own firm." So I
Hmm.
think it's something you really should take time to evaluate yourself and your strengths and your weaknesses and be practical, and then try to focus on a direction that is based on you and your strengths and what you'll enjoy.
Okay, great tips. Tell us a little bit about what you do on a weekly basis as a creator of a firm?
On a weekly basis. So, I mean, my days start very early. I usually wake up around 5. I usually start work latest 7, sometimes 6. It just depends. Like, if I'm in a trial or a court proceeding, it's a lot of preparation for court, and then also preparing the clients, also dealing with opposing counsel. But also, there's time, maybe one day a week. I often work 7 days a week, sometimes 6. But there's usually a day set aside for focusing on the business instead of working in the business.
Right.
So it's talking to other members of this team via phone or Zoom, going through their files, having file meetings, looking through receivables, looking at, okay, well, we have a trial in 2 months. How much is that going to cost? We need to notify the client to pay the funds ahead of time, because you can't really ask a client it's not fair to pay funds for a trial very last minute. So it varies. I enjoy it. I enjoy the business component of it. I
Hmm.
also work with the Law Society. I'm the first Law Society. Every 4 years they have an election for director. It's called a venture, and lawyers vote for many of us. There's some that are appointed, but lawyers will vote for majority of us. And in the 223-year history of the Law Society, there's never been a Black woman voted in as a
Hmm.
venture. And so
Hmm.
I was the first Black woman voted in. I think it was 2016, and I was reelected last year. So there's also time spent on that in terms of, and what we do is we make policies and procedures that protect the public and
Hmm.
regulate lawyers. I think it's like 60,000 lawyers and paralegals. So I'm the the co-president of the Human Rights Monitoring Group. And so that also takes time. I'm on the Audit and Finance Committee. And so there has to be a lot of time budgeted for those type of kind of extracurricular
Yeah.
activities.
So you're a very busy person. You run a business. You're an entrepreneur, and you are a very high profile person in your community. Um, how would your life be different in terms of work life balance if you were working in a firm and you weren't the creator of it? Previously you worked at 2 firms. Talk a little bit about the difference between your lifestyle then and now.
I don't. I mean, I work just as hard at those firms as I do now. I think I have a certain level of passion because it's like the name of the firm is like my last name or my father's last name, but um, it's more I just a different sense of energy when it's your name on the letterhead. So I think that's the main difference.
Hmm.
And there's also more opportunities. Like I regularly appear on 4 television stations as legal analyst. I don't know if those opportunities would have come about if I were
Yeah.
practicing in a. And
Hmm.
sometimes with firms, the person who actually gets to run to become a board of director is usually someone very, very senior in the firm. And so I might not have had that opportunity to run if I were still employed in the firm. So the good thing about having this business is that I can make decisions without the bureaucracy and going through all these hurdles.
Hmm.
Um, and it helps, especially now, like given with COVID, you can make decisions very, very quickly without having to go through a ton of meetings or a ton of approvals. And so I think that's the main difference.
Hmm. Do you think you could have gone straight to your own firm out of law school?
No, I don't think I would have felt comfortable. I didn't even feel comfortable opening my firm. I dealt with a lot of discrimination based on race and gender. That's what led me to open the firm. But with something like complex commercial litigation, where there's so much like strategy, it's important to have mentorship and guidance by someone who's senior. So when I was actually approached to open my own firm by my mentors. One, he's been practicing for maybe 20 years. The other one's around 30 years. They were hired by my previous firm on a very complicated litigation matter, and I was assigned to be their junior lawyer. So we worked closely with each other for quite some time. And they said, we heard how you're being treated at your firm. We're going to renovate space on Bay Street, Bay and Queen, and we'd like you to join us. And I said, I'm happy to do that on the condition that you continue to mentor me, because I don't know what I'm doing. So I need mentorship in terms of business.
Hmm.
Um, and I need mentorship in terms of law. So when I moved into their space for 5 years, so I was in my 4th year of practice, for an additional 5 years on top of that, they continued to mentor me. And there was so much I didn't know. like
Mhm.
one of the first things I was asked about was, Tanya, are you going to get life insurance? And I'm like 32. I'm never going to die. And it's like you will. Everyone dies, and you will die. One of these days, it is cheaper to get this now than when you're like 50, 60 years old. The premiums will be quite high. And I didn't even. It's great because I didn't even. My mind wasn't even focused on that. So it was really,
Mhm.
really helpful. Or even just getting complicated file and being able to walk into their office and have someone say to me, okay, well, Tanya, um, this is a strategy that I would take if that I was helping in this situation. Or even some clients weren't comfortable retaining me. They said you're too junior, and so they would assure clients, you're getting the benefit of like Tanya's getting free mentorship. So even though she is junior, we're not charging you to mentor her. So I think that was great. I really appreciate that guidance and direction that I received.
What an opportunity. And you're so smart to ask for it too, right? You ask for it and you get it, apparently. So, um, is there anything about the work that you do that surprised you?
Yes, what surprised me is I did not appreciate how important relationships are, right? So you need to have really strong relationships with people so you can get work referred to you or people can hire you. And so I joined boards when I was younger because I thought it's great to give back to community and meet other people. But so much of my work comes from people that I've built relationships with over the years.
Mhm.
And I just didn't appreciate how like it's like the how fundamental it is. And I think some people may not appreciate that until it's too late. They're thinking about becoming partner, or they're thinking about opening the business, and they realize, wait a second, I don't have mentors. I don't have the guidance and direction I need, and I don't have the client base or people who can afford to pay these rates. So that's one thing that really surprised me.
Okay, that's very interesting. And it would apply to so many areas of work for young people to have that in mind. Do you have any advice to give to young people today? What skills they should be working on for the 21st century, the world they're going to enter into after graduation? What do they need, in your opinion, for
I
law or anything?
Anything like even with business, I think you need first and foremost strong interpersonal skills, and it's really challenged now because you're not hanging out in the mall with somebody or going to
Mhm.
somebody's home. And when I realized COVID started in Canada really in March last year, I started scheduling more Zoom meetings with my colleagues or friends or even my clients. But you need to really focus on having strong interpersonal skills. I think you need to be, whatever you do, you need to be very driven. You need to have a sense of confidence. I'm so grateful to my father for teaching me how to skate and even teaching me how to play tennis at a very young age. Uh, and it gave me this confidence because that you're going to hear no so many times. You're going to hear like if you want to do something different, you're going to like I have people I go to a court, I attend court many times with my junior lawyers who sometimes they're white males, and people assume that I work for the junior lawyer. People assume sometimes I'm the assistant. People will meet me, and when I say I'm the creator of the firm, people will flat out say to me, "I are you sure? Like, is it your husband's firm or like,
That's horrible.
so you have to feel confident in yourself and realize, the reason why people may have these assumptions about you or treat you differently is because they're just not used to seeing people in the positions that you have. Um, so I think it's very important to have confidence, but not there's like a fine line between confidence and kind of overconfidence.
Yeah,
I think it's a word, I guess it's arrogant, but you just
yeah.
have to believe in yourself. And I think whatever you decide to do, most jobs or roles out there, it's about helping others, and you have to sincerely want to help others. If you don't want to sincerely help others, it will not. It will come across as you not being like real and kind of being fake. So I think whatever passion you have to be able. It has to be sincere.
I love
And
it.
I think the last point, communication skills are also very important, especially with law. Written communication skills are very, very important. I recommend, when I started law school, I realized I wasn't a strong writer in comparison to my colleagues who had like a political science degree, or
Hmm.
an English degree, because in business you don't really write many papers.
Yeah.
And so what I started to do is read more academic papers, or even I even subscribed to the Globe and Mail and just read it on a regular basis to learn how to write, be a stronger writer. Because many times judges read our materials and formulate an opinion about our matter before they even see us. And I think the last point is you should have a very strong support system.
Hmm.
Um, the job litigation is so stressful. I was in trial a month ago, and I was working like 16 to 18 hours a day. And having a young child who's 2 years old, um, it's great that my husband is the primary caregiver, because I could only imagine how more challenging that would be, being in a trial working 16 hours a day, if I had to worry about coming home and spending time with him every evening, and daycare or babysitter or cooking or cleaning. Like, so it's really important to, like, if you decide to do something that requires so much time, and especially if it's a very high level of stress, it is so fundamental to have a strong support system. People who genuinely care about you being your best and are not trying to bring you down. And you have to have enough confidence in yourself that if people do try to bring you down or try to get you off your path, that you have to loosen the reins on that relationship, because it's not
Hmm.
going to help you.
Extremely valuable information. Two last questions. What would you tell your younger self, Tanya?
I would tell my younger self, look at the big picture always. And so an example of this is when I started Osgood, a colleague of mine, we're struggling with the cases, we're struggling a little bit to understand the comprehension. And she said to me, Tanya, why don't we divide the cost of a tutor? We can meet with a tutor once a week. And I was short-sighted. I looked at it as, well, why should I pay 50, 60, whatever it was, dollars an hour? Um, I don't have money, is very, and it is very tight. I'm on a budget, and I didn't see the big picture. I didn't see that, if you get higher grades, those grades follow you actually for about 7 years after law school. For about 7 years, when you apply to jobs, they want to see your transcripts. And
Hmm.
so I said, I can't afford a tutor. She paid for a tutor. Her grades were significantly higher than mine. And she was just able to pick and choose what job she wanted to do, what school she wanted to.
So interesting.
And so I learned from that and
Hmm.
said, you have to focus on the big picture. So even when I received the opportunity to study on exchange in Ireland in third year, the last term of third year, I thought to myself, money is an issue, but when is this going to ever happen again? Right. So I attended Trinity College in Dublin uh, for that semester, and then I budgeted quite a bit, and so I was able to afford to go backpacking for 3 weeks across Europe, and it's really inexpensive to travel in Europe when you're there.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
amazing.
that was a lesson I learned, and those memories are phenomenal. First of all, I wouldn't backpack. I need like a bed and I need a shower every day, so I wouldn't do that now. And also, the world has changed so much. So I am so grateful that I took that opportunity to travel, and learned to see the big picture and those experiences that you'll never get back.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, last question. What would you be doing if it wasn't law?
Hmm. I think if it wasn't law, I probably would be like a gym instructor, like a fitness instructor. I like to run. I like spin class. I like being healthy. I think it men, helps us physically and mentally. And I like helping other people. So I think if I couldn't practice law, I would be like a gym instructor, a fitness instructor.
Okay, well, that's wonderful. Extremely valuable information, Tanya. Like, you have so many tips to share. And this is my dog's tail. It's not mine. Sorry about that. Um, yes, thank you so much for sharing today. I know my audience is going to get so much out of this. I've learned a ton. And the pointers, the tips you've shared are really, really interesting and valuable. So thank you for your time today. And congratulations on everything that you're doing
Thank you.
and all of your successes.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks so
Tanya.
much. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us today. If you liked the episode, give us a like, and even better, subscribe. Check out the show notes for more information about how to reach us at Right Track Education if you're interested in digging deeper about your own career prospects.